Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my regular Friday afternoon videos. Karen Frankel coming to you as usual. How do you transfer this lovely little piece to your bigger picture? There's a two-stage process. The first half is to get the proportion of your thumbnail onto your page. This is very, very important for you to get your head around. Now, what do I mean? In this instance, I have got my thumbnail is, let's say, that wide on my pencil, and it's about a pencil and a half that way. So photographs are usually about that proportion. Now, you can see below here, I have got my other sketchbook lined up as a vertical book. So this is in portrait mode and my small book is in landscape mode. Now, if I want to do a small sketch, then it's all very well for me to put my picture there as long as it is still in the same format as on here. But I have actually seen people take a horizontal picture and try to put that on their vertical page. So that is a no-no. You need to have exactly the same proportions of your original thumbnail and put that onto your page. I can't say how important this is. I say it over and over again, and you can watch this back over and over again. Okay, it is unfortunately not really good enough just to draw one on your page like that. I hope you can see that. I drew it quite lightly. I'll actually put a stronger line on so that you can see. Because even though that is horizontal, it's landscape, you should be able to tell that in this one, the proportion is, let's see, how many widths? Is 1, 2. So the length is double the width in what I've drawn here. And as I said before, that is 1 to 1.5. So 1 to 1.5. And this one is 1 to 2. So that is not going to work. And I have two possibilities to show you how to transfer this onto your page so it's exactly the same proportion, so it looks the same. And it doesn't, this trick that I'm going to show you works for any size thumbnail, and I'm going to show you how that works. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, if I want to maximize how big that is, I'm going to turn my book that way around. Now, I should actually erase this, otherwise you're going to get confused as to why that's in the middle of the page. Okay, this is the first way of doing this. Oh, by the way, before I carry on with that, it is always a good idea for you to do your thumbnails in a little book and then do your larger sketches in a different book or obviously a different piece of paper. You can do these on loose pieces of paper, but then they get lost, and it is actually quite nice to have them all in one book. Okay, the first way is really, really clever, but it might be a little bit too clever. Okay, believe it or not, the diagonal of any picture that you've done, as long as the diagonal of your larger picture is the same, it will have the same proportion, and I will prove that to you. So you can take a long piece of card, so it doesn't actually have to be a ruler. We're not measuring at this stage. I have got a ruler, because I wanted a nice long piece, and this isn't quite long enough. So if I place my thumbnail picture in the middle of my page, make sure that those sides are parallel there and those sides are parallel there. So don't have your picture crooked, in other words. So try and get it as straight as you want and put it right in the middle there. And now put a ruler across, doesn't matter which way, if you go from there to there or there to there, as long as it's going from corner to corner. Now, my book is getting in the way a little bit there, so I'm going to fudge it a little bit and, ooh, that's not very useful. Isn't it good that I'm having the difficulty, so you now know what to do if you've got a difficulty. So I'm not going to put it quite that far at the moment. So I've still got it from corner to corner. Can you see that? You do not have to actually draw the line, but anywhere along here, if I want to make this the maximum size I can, I'm going to put a dot anywhere along there, and the dot, I'm going to make a big dot so that you can see it, and take my ruler away, and you should be able to see that dot on my page. So I know that the bottom of the dot at the bottom is lining up with the diagonal of that thumbnail. Now, I said to you that that was getting in the way, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ruler over the top of my book. So I'm still going to make it visually across, there you go, and I'm going to put a dot on the other side, and my dot is there. Now I'm going to try one more thing, because instead of opening the page to put that, I've closed my book up, and let's see if this is a bit easier. So dot to dot, shouldn't have made it so big. Let's see if that is lining up. Yep, there you go. So it's going from that dot to that dot is the same as corner to corner on my thumbnail. Now, anyway, what do we do? So now we take my ruler, or you take your ruler and I'll take mine. How's that? And we draw a shape on the page, and we go straight down from the dot or straight across from the dot, and we go straight across from that one. Can you see that? Sorry, my head's getting in the way there. Can you see, whoop, that this is parallel to the side? So I am going right across on the side there, and then I'm coming back down to the dot I had there. So that huge picture is the same proportion as that thumbnail, and I'll prove it to you. And I'm not even going to measure it with my ruler. I'm going to use this plain piece of cardboard, and I'm going to go, okay, that's how wide it is, and we said it was about 1.5. So I'm going to go 1, and that's about 1.5. Can you see that looks like about half of the board? So how cool is that? Now, another little trick. If you don't want it that big, and this time I'm just going to fill in, I'm going to put that in for now, even though you don't have to, because I want to show you that anywhere along here, if you put a dot, so let's say you didn't want it that extreme size. So I've put 2 dots on my page, and if I do this, So again, parallel with the bottom of the page, parallel with the top of the page. I'm not sure how far to draw it out. It doesn't matter because I will intersect with this one, and that's parallel to the side. And that's parallel to the side. So now I've got an image. Please ignore this one in here. I have now made my bigger one, so bigger than the thumbnail, right? But it is also exactly the same proportion. So as long as you've got the same diagonal as your thumbnail, you will have the same proportion. So let's check this one. So that's 1, and does it go 1.5? It goes 1.5 again. So that's proving to you that it does work. And I will show you also, if we have a very long, thin thumbnail, the same trick works. So it doesn't matter what your thumbnail is, what shape it is, as long as it's rectangular. Okay, I'm going to do this on the same page, and how about I do this with a different color? So here's a bright blue. I'm putting my thumbnail there. And I'm not trying to match it to the other one. I'm just using the same page because I don't want to waste it. So now I've got a different diagonal to the one I had before. Hello, Sharon. And I'm going to put a dot there. Can you see I'm using my ruler on the diagonal? And I'm going to put a dot, let's say, there. Yep. Now, before I fill that in, I'm going to do a little check to see how big this new one is, what its proportion is. So I'm going to go 1 fits in, let's see, 1, 2, nearly 3. Let's say 2 2/3. Do you think? I know this is getting a bit technical. Bear with me. Okay, so I've put my 2 dots there, which is exactly the same as the diagonal of this new thumbnail, in case it's that shape. So I'm not going to put my diagonal across. I'm going to draw straight across from there. I'm going to draw straight across from there, parallel to the side there, and parallel, let's say parallel to the side there. So now that is the biggest, nearly the biggest I can get on this page. If I wanted to make it as big as the actual page, then I could go, okay, it's crossing there, and it's crossing there. That's the maximum width I can get. Then I could have made it this big, which is a little bit bigger than that. That is the biggest I can get on this particular page. So I hope you followed that. Let's test my theory and see if it is. 1 is 2 2/3 of the side. So let's go with the small one. Ah, yes, Lois, there is a way to do this in reverse. I will show you that. So Lois has a full-size page, so if she wants to put it on the full-size page, she can use that, and then she can make the thumbnail the same proportion. I will show you that. It's a great question, and one that I do when I know the size of a canvas and I want the proportion of my thumbnail to be exactly the same proportion as the canvas. Okay, let me just check my maths here. So that's 1, and it goes 1, 2. Don't you love it when it works? 2 and 2/3 or 3/4. Pretty close. Okay, so that's the first way. Many people find that a little bit complicated, so I'm going to show you another way. And I will turn over. Oh, should I turn over? Or should we? Yes, I will turn over. Okay. So, let me go back to the previous thumbnail. This time you need a bit of scrap paper, just like that. And you don't, I try never to measure in centimeters or inches or millimeters. I always just use a piece of paper so I can double things and triple things and halve things just by folding the piece of paper. So if I go there, I have measured the length of my thumbnail. And if I go to the other side of the page and I go there, that's the width of my thumbnail. So I've marked on my piece of paper, that's the length and that's the width. Now, this is a bit of trial and error. On your big piece, you can say, I'm going to double that, or I'm going to triple it. So if I say I'm going to triple it, I need to test out. So I've put it at the end of the page. I go 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now I need to see if 3 of the widths will work. So I can let's draw a line across there. Now I need 3 widths. So that's 1, 2, 3. So it so happens that it does actually fit. But sometimes you'll get it and you'll go, okay, I'll put 4 widths in, and then you'll find that 4 lengths doesn't fit in. So you might have to go 3.5. So this is a simpler way, but you won't be able to use the maximum side of your page. So 1, 2, 3 went up to there, so I can close that off there. So we went right to the edge of the page, remember? So that shape there is now the same proportion as that, because we just did that 3 times there and 3 times there. So if you want to fit it in the middle of the page, then you would start your length from maybe, let's say there, and you'd go 1, 2, 3, and then you'd be able to shift it up a little bit. So I hope that hasn't complicated things. The beauty of a video is you can watch it again. Okay, so there is exactly the same proportion. Should we see if it's 1.5? Okay, so my trusty bit of cardboard, that's 1, that's 1.5. So that worked. So that's just simply going how many times that? 1, 2, 3 times. Obviously you wouldn't do 1 times, because that would be the same size as your thumbnail. Okay, so Lowe's asked a very interesting question. She said, if I've got a big piece of watercolor paper, for example, and it already has a proportion that you want to do your thumbnail, you want to give that proportion to your thumbnail, and so that you can fill the whole sheet. So this applies to canvases as well, because your canvas is already a size. Okay, so that is an excellent question and something that I do. So this is just the piece of A4 page that I tore the picture off. And it's exactly the same, Lois. It's the reversal, but we're still working with diagonals. So should we work with this page? No, let's say I wanted to make a thumbnail that will fit on this piece of paper exactly. Then what you do is you take the diagonal of the real piece that you want. So you put that across your watercolor paper or your canvas. If you've got a canvas and you haven't got a long enough ruler, you can do it with a piece of string. So just use a bit of blue tack at one end and blue tack there, or a drawing pin into the wood of your canvas, something that will keep that string across. Okay, so that's a good tip. It could even be a bit of cotton, which might be easier. So not many of us have got massive rulers that you could stretch right across canvases. So you put your, I'll move this out the way so you don't get confused. So let's say I want to put my picture on this canvas, but I want a small thumbnail which is the same proportion as this so that I can transfer it. So basically, you don't have to draw on your lovely piece of paper. And in fact, if you've got string, it's even better. You take the piece of paper or the book that you want to do your thumbnail in, and you put it on your canvas or your piece of watercolor or whatever it is that you are trying to get the proportion of, and you put your pencil back or you tuck it under the string, and the reverse is you put some small dots. So it is the same process. You put the same dots, but this time on your smaller piece of paper so that they match your bigger piece of paper. And then it's exactly the same. So I'm going to do that and do that. I deliberately got a long ruler because I knew that I was going to be doing some long areas. Then that thumbnail is exactly the same proportion as that. So I got a big piece of paper down here as well so that I could demonstrate it on the big piece of paper. I don't think you can, I don't think you can see the whole big piece of paper, but it's exactly the same principle. So yes, you can't see the big piece of paper, but I can. You can see my big ruler across, and yeah, my ruler is not big enough. So what I might do is I might put the two rulers together. So there's lots of different ways in which you can get it done. So I'm matching that ruler on that side like that and I'm making sure that goes corner to corner. So that's my big piece of paper, and I can put, so if you don't want to, undo your book to put it under, you could try to find a loose piece. You could put it on top if you want. Whoops, I'm meant to be doing it like that, aren't I? So I've put it on top, and the triangle is on that side. Oh, I don't know if it works on top. Yeah, it does. I can kind of see through. So I've got I can feel where my line is. So I'm putting those two dots. I might do that quickly in a different color. So the proportion of that big piece is from there to there because it's the same diagonal as my big piece. So that's the important part that I wanted to show you. In my email tomorrow, when I've uploaded this to YouTube, I will give you the link to the previous video to go and watch how to transfer, but I will show you quickly now how we're going to transfer that image onto the page. So this is one I prepared earlier while you were watching, and I'm going to show you how you put that onto your page. I've decided to leave my little desk lamp off because I noticed that it was creating quite a shine. Okay. The most important part of this, after we've got the proportion, is to keep this design the same on your big paper. The whole point of doing your thumbnail is to have a design that works. So there's no point putting this away and looking at the photograph again and starting from scratch, because you've already got the design. And in the process of this, you may have been making some decisions about what you're going to leave in, what you're going to leave out, where are you placing these. They might have shifted from where they are in the photograph, and it's that you need to transfer to this. Right, so you can choose. This one has got some third marks in. So we had some third marks. Now those are only very loosely put in on that thumbnail. You can also look at put some more marks on there which show half and half. So half and quarters are easy to estimate. Can you see I'm not using a ruler to measure? If you wanted to get more accurate than that, you can get a piece of paper and you can go, okay, that's that. Halfway is there. I was pretty okay. And a quarter of the way is there. I was pretty okay. So estimating that is not that difficult. And then on your big paper, you're going to estimate halfway, quarter way. Can you see where I'm going with this? Can you see I've just estimated? I might have misestimated actually, because I've forgotten which line is which. I think we're using that one there. Okay, and then halfway there, and your quarters. Now, you're not going to do grid by grid, square by square like we do it on the grid. You are loosely hold your pencil way up at the tip, okay, way up there so it's very loose. Look at where things are matching up. So, and don't draw perfect trees. Draw pretty much what you've got in the thumbnail. So that tree is going about 2/3 of the way across, and it's going down to about the halfway mark, so it's doing that. Which line? I don't remember. Is it that line? We'll leave it at that line. Okay. Can you see how loose that is? Okay. On this side, I want to put this circle in, and it's going just above that quarter mark, and it's going just a little bit of way along there, so it's going down below the halfway a little bit, and it's about there. So can you see that I am plotting where these shapes are? That's all you need to do. Now, I notice that I've got that line going on the halfway, which is unusual for me, but seemed to work. So I'm putting that in. I can see that this line is just small. It's not going down to the quarter mark. So something like that. And this line is, ooh, oh, that's the third line, isn't it? Okay. So I am using this to detect where things are. This line is on the quarter line-ish. Can you see that I'm not worried about keeping this piece pristine? You've got to plot these things in and just see that they work. Okay? I'm not worried about any detail because there isn't any detail to put in. My lines are, let's say, those quarters don't match. So I've got one trunk there, I've got one trunk there, I've got a trunk that's doing that, and that's going nearly to the edge. So maybe I need to shift these. So can you see, by putting it in loosely, you can rub out what you don't want once you get everything in place. What you do want is to have a look at this and see that it emulates that quite well. You need to be able to see that there's a shape in there. Remember our negative shapes? What is that negative shape? Does it look like the same negative shape there on my piece? Well, yes, it actually does. Okay, this looks a bit big, so I might adjust it. Drawing is all about adjusting. You are not a better drawer if you can get it down first time. So don't worry about it. Okay, I'm rubbing out just a little bit because I was getting a little bit confused. But I'm not rubbing out all of my lines. Okay? And I haven't looked at my photograph yet. So I'm only transferring what is in my thumbnail so that I've got the correct proportions that I've decided there. So I might put some of these dark shapes on there. And there's that shape. Okay, I quite like that. I might actually even put a line in there for where the light and dark is going to be. Yep, I think that's about it. I might take this a little bit further because I can see there that it's come down from the edge of this dark here, or I'll take it up again. So you play around with this until it looks like that. The next step, once you've got it all correct, is not to go in with a heavy line, but you can put some of the shading in. Okay, so I know that a lot of the shading in here is from mark making, but I find it useful to put some shading underneath as well, right at the beginning, so that I am following what's going on. So I'm establishing something that looks a little bit similar to my thumbnail, even if that's not going to look what it is not going to be what it looks like right at the end, because I can put marks on top here without worrying about rubbing any of that out, and it will work out really well. Okay, but if you've got that on, you can't possibly get rid of it by putting marks over. So keep your lines very, very light when you establish your whole piece like that. And throughout your drawing, you can refer back to your photograph, which you can see in the top left of your screen, but also refer to your thumbnail, because what happens is you look at your photograph and you go, oh, these things are really, really dark in there, and oh, these are really, really dark in there. And then you look at your thumbnail and you go, well, I didn't actually make it that dark. In fact, I remember changing that tone so that I could see the difference between that tree in the background. So you make decisions in your thumbnail that you've always got to check to see if the design here is following the design of your thumbnail. Well, so that was quite a technical lesson. I hope that you understand the principle of measuring the proportions in those two different ways I gave you. I hope you also understand that you use the same principle to measure a larger piece and get your thumbnail the same proportion as your larger piece. And now you've just watched me transfer the design from there onto here. And one last thing about it, if you are busy with your drawing here and you go, you know what, I really would like to see some more sky in between the branches, try it on your thumbnail first, because your thumbnail, that's exactly what it's there for. Your thumbnail is there for you to try things. So if you try and put some more light in, as I was suggesting, I'm not sure where my big strong eraser is, which is why I'm using my kneadable, but it's working okay. Try it on your thumbnail. And if it works on your thumbnail, then put it in your bigger picture. So it's much, much easier. Phew, that was quite a technical one, and I know from teaching the people at home, not at home, in the studio, that people do sometimes get confused with that. So I'm hoping that you will look at the video again if you are confused, and just try it on a few different sizes. Don't even bother drawing the thumbnail, putting a picture in the thumbnail. Just try using that ruler technique for the diagonals, because once you cotton onto it, it's very easy, and it's such a beautiful way of checking that things are the same can't think of the word, the same proportion, that's the word, without measuring, without actually measuring in centimeters and millimeters and having to double it and triple it or divide it up into 1 and 1.5. So that is it from me, Karen Frankel, signing off and saying, get drawing, enjoy yourselves, bye-bye.